Alright guys, welcome to another video. So now that we've had some actual fighting in KVK, I can go over some reports, some video footage of how Siege and Field work together in the open field. So let's actually first just go over what I'm using. Okay, so originally I was planning on just doing 5-5-1-1 for Margaret and Cordoba and then all epic gear. And then I just decided to put a little bit more into it. So almost all the fighting so far was with all epic except for the legendary legs. Now the reason why I chose the legs is because the epic version did not have march speed, and the legs version obviously gives it's stat swap from defense to health, but also you get march speed. And then the next upgrade I make to this set will be the boots, because boots also don't have march speed on the epic tier, but at the legendary tier there's also march speed. And then also, obviously, when you crap both, you get the two-piece set bonus for the extra 5% defense. Flag for a little bit more march speed. And then Delane's Amulet is even more effective on a siege march than a field march, just because if you're not getting attacked, the only damage you're taking back from siege is counterattack. So we could take 5% less counterattack damage in a way, like if it's positioned right, a lot of times you're just taking 5% less all damage, right? So Delane, if you don't have a legendary accessory, is one of the best accessories you can put on there. It's actually way better than just for normal field marches. If you were gonna put a legendary accessory on here, what I actually would recommend first is the horn. For some reason, the siege seems to generate rage very slowly, especially when you first set up before it gets its first skill cycle off. I think horn would actually really complement this march a lot. Right now, my Cordoba is at a 5-5-2-4. Like I said, I originally was going to do 5-5-1-1. Decided to put more sculptures into it. I think ideally, if you were going to get 3 skills max, you want 5-5-1-5. So I got pretty close, and I think I'm going to actually end up maxing them. Okay, so some thoughts on KVK using this march. So first, it's actually even a lot different than I thought it was going to be. It's very, very fun, but also it takes a lot more skill. So I'll show some videos of me micromanaging both, controlling and switching back and forth, and I'll go over the basic controls before I show the video footage. So when I show the videos, you'll get a sense of what I'm doing. But two, it almost turns it into, if any of you guys have ever played like StarCraft or like real-time like strategy games where you have to control a lot of things at once and you're constantly switching, that's what it reminds me of. It definitely takes a lot more skill when you're trying to micromanage both, but it also makes it very fun. And some things I didn't think about with Siege that I realized about a day and a half in, is that people just dive bomb it. You can actually use it as bait to lure people into a bad position. They really want to take this thing out. And the kind of fighting I'm going to show isn't necessarily what quote unquote productive fighting is, right? Because you're not necessarily trying to take down a flag or fort. It's not even like big murder balls. It's just they're cheeseburgering and then you're trying to lure them out, right? So just a quick context of why we have the fighting we have in this zone. If you see, this is zone 7. The strongest kingdom in zone 7 that we're fighting against is 1770. As soon as the zone opened, they just decided to drop a fort wall here, right? And they went very defensive. So we had some open field fighting the first day and a half, right, when everything was still stabilizing. And once it's stabilized, it's pretty much just trying to burn down flags and forts, which when you're marching onto enemy territory, it isn't necessarily the best to have a siege there, right? Because it could get exposed if it's in the back. And then also, there's a lot of cheeseburgering. Okay, so I wish I could show you more footage of like it was open fielding, right? There's no altars or ruins, so you can't get any of those crazy Mr. Siege reports. But that's kind of the context there. And like I said earlier, it took me maybe about a day, maybe 2 hours to a day to get used to the controls, and then another day and a half to actually start figuring out, okay, what's the range, right? Because if the breakdown is 8 seconds, so setup is 6 seconds, breakdown is 8 seconds, when do I need to break down? When I feel like people are starting to dive bomb or march towards it so I don't get swarmed down. Where to position it to strategically get shots off, how to place it in a way where people can't get close or it actually aggravates them. So they march out of position where they attack before they want to. There's a lot of really cool and fun things you can do with it. Having used it now, I do think if you're a big whale or a kraken, you actually maybe want to have 7 field marches and then an 8th siege march. So you can interchange between this for the 7th march, whether you want to use siege or field march, because there's going to be times when field's more appropriate, and there's going to be times when a siege is actually a lot more fun. And then finally, I'll say this. This thing is not as cheap. Well, it's not as cheap as I thought it was going to be, right? Where I thought it was going to be stupid, because it does take some skill. And then for anyone who hasn't used it yet and just wants to hate on it, they just have no idea what they're talking about, because unless you've actually tried it and used it and then kind of experience what it's like to control and micromanage both, you just have no idea what you're talking about. Because I was actually I thought it was good, but before I used it, I had no idea what I was talking about. So I'll just leave it at that. And then finally, I'll just provide some context of the video footage you're going to see. Actually, let's go over the controls first, and I'll show the context for the video footage. Okay, so the way I have this set up right now, let's pull this up here. So I have my marches, right? I have 7 presets. Right now, my tech, I can run 6. And you can see the first one is going to be the Margaret Cordoba. Usually you want your slowest march out first. This is actually going to be probably my 3rd slowest. I think the Margaret Cordoba is actually faster than my ZL Herman and my Scipio, my Kuang Scipio. And the ZL Herman actually has the 6.5% flag for extra march speed, and the boots are actually at Awaken 4, so it should be fairly fast. But the siege is surprisingly or unsurprisingly faster than that. And then the Kuang Scipio, I actually also have a 6.5% flag on there, the 4-piece set bonus for the internal empire. So the siege is definitely more than fast enough. Right now, the way I have this, so if I bring this out, right, the siege is going to come out first. I'll select it, I'll hotkey it to 2. And then I'll just set it up, right? So once I set it up, then all the other field marches, once they all come out, I could select them, right? So now I'm selecting all that's on the field, I hotkey it to 1, right? So now, you can see if I press 1, I'm selecting the field marches. If I press 2, I'm selecting the siege marches, okay? Now this is important because this is how you kind of control both simultaneously, like separately. And then you can see how when I select 2 though, there's no option to set it up. You actually have to manually select the troops, so I actually have to press F1 in this case. And now there's the option to set it up, so you press 1 button, then you press another button, and you set it up. Okay, so on the video footage, when I show it, sometimes you'll see me actually click over, click on it, click off. It's because of that. And you know, if you want to dismantle, it takes 8 seconds to dismantle. Now, it's in the process of setting up. So for example, right now, if I'm in the process of setting up, right? So it's setting up and I want to move it, it'll just disengage automatically. Same thing, if it's already set up and you're breaking down the tower and you want to attack someone, it'll actually stop that and then attack someone again. So sometimes I'll accidentally try to move it, then someone goes in range, I'll actually have to cancel the breakdown. So there's like a couple extra steps you have to do. I don't actually remember if I said this earlier, but it makes this game a lot more like real-time strategy games where you have to manage a bunch of things at once. So even though, like, yes, quote-unquote, the siege tower is on auto-target, when you're managing a couple of things at once, right, it actually makes this game, it brings a whole different dynamic to this game. And in my opinion, it makes it a lot more fun to fight on the field. It takes it from a, I want to say low skill, but let's like a low medium skill game to maybe a medium high skill game when you're trying to micromanage both. Okay, and then finally, let's actually go over where we're fighting. So a lot of the video footage I'm going to show is over here, just because this is when they're willing to come out in the field. A lot of them are willing to come out in the field. So this is against, you know, not necessarily the strongest kingdom. It's a younger kingdom, 3125, and have this little corridor set up, right? So a lot of these guys are online, but they'll wait for you to actually get to like about here or further, and then they'll it almost feels like they're all coordinating on voice or something, because they'll all come out at once. And it'll go from you fighting like 2 or 3 marches, all of a sudden there might be like 25 marches on the field. Okay, so is this the kind of fighting that normally happens for objective-based fighting or to win KVKs? No. But it also requires a lot more skill in micromanaging in this environment. So I decided to show this video because if you can micromanage both marches in this environment, it's very easy to actually control it for like a murder ball situation, or even in like a ruins where you just camp it at a strategic spot and just let it go crazy. Okay, so that's kind of the context. The rest, I'm just going to put some video footage to show you what's going on. Things to look for is when I'm switching back and forth between the siege march and the field march, when I actually set it up, you know, and then I attack someone else, when I decide to break it down and move it around. So you could kind of just see how that works. And again, obviously there's a video footage, but if you do decide to use it, it's going to take a little bit to get used to. And also, having used this, I don't think your first investment, especially in like KVK3 or Season of Conquest, should be Siege, just because there's times when Siege is very good and there's times when it's not going to bring as much value. I think still like a field march, like probably the top 3 field march of each troop type, should be your priority before you get to Siege, just because you're always going to be able to use that. Whereas like Siege, I don't want to say it's niche, but there's times when I actually bring a 6 field march instead of the siege, and other times I'm using the siege. Okay, and then finally, let's actually go over some reports. So you can see overall, this is how I'm doing so far in KVK. So the fighting has really slowed down the last day and a half. So I would say so far we've had about 2.5 days where, quote unquote, there's fighting. There's still not a lot of open fielding, but at least they were willing to come out. Now it's not, they're not even really cheeseburgering us anymore. So overall KP ratio, you can see it's 2.19 to 1. I'm using almost all T4s. The only T5 I'm using is just because I don't have enough T4s to fill all T4s. So the total kill ratio is 1.53 to 1, right? Just because T4s aren't going to trade as well, troop-wise. But you can see all the way down, right? Scipio Luce Alex is by far the best march. It's so good. It actually might be as good as Scipio Luce. You know, it's disgusting. But all the way down, actually my worst trading march is the Margaret Cordova. I don't think a lot of what I'm doing is conducive to what siege strengths are, but it does make it very fun. And I think once we get into Kingsland, where it's not so one-sided and the ball is constantly moving, it'll actually end up doing better. And also, this is the total. If you actually look at the first day, so the date's going to change the very first day when I was still figuring it out. You can see total it's 1.26 to 1, right? But if I just go to the first day, I was actually just straight up trading negative. And troop-wise, I was trading almost 1 to 2, right? It took a while to figure out, but also out in the open field when nothing was established. And then the fort wall I showed earlier, when we were dropping forts, we were literally dropping forts behind this fort wall, like really aggressive. Like we dropped one here, we dropped one here, we even dropped one down here, and then trying to march through the fort wall to go defend it, to actually have it build. It was just sad facing over and over. So a lot of it was also the way we were playing. But you can see how the first day it was 0.95 to 1, and we just take out the first day, right? And let's see, let me update this. Right, the ratio goes way up. Now it's 1.36 to 1, and the 0.83. Still not doing as well as the field marches, but it actually does a lot better. Now, again, having said that, the equipment, the commanders are all at the out of all of my marches, that's definitely the worst. So it's not just a thing where you could just do almost no investment and do really well. If you want to mix it in with field marches, you still got to invest in it a little bit. And then finally, if you are interested in this is from Cubasmike. I'll put the link to his Discord in my description. This thing has been awesome. He's charging $50 a year to use it, but it's 2 weeks to try it out for free. It seems a little intimidating to set it up, but it was actually fairly easy. And this thing is really, really awesome. So having said that, next is just going to be video footage, and hopefully you guys get something out of it and enjoy. All right. I guess first footage of this siege. So you can see the tower sitting up behind this fort. We dropped a fort behind. This is a very aggressive fort drop. You can see it's just they're getting free shots, right? We're just balling up here, and this is probably like the best. This is when you want to use a siege, right? If you could just camp there, the ball's not really moving, they're coming towards you. And we'll pull a report after we stop them. So they're almost forced to come to us just because they can't let us build this fort, but you see, even when slow, it's still shooting. But we'll pull this. Awesome. This is trades. Is that guy out there? They literally just trap you in here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Where did all these guys come from? You see this? I'm telling you. They're crazy. I think these guys been doing this. It's like they just wait there. It's like one of those traps. I'll set this up. Find them on our territory. But they won't come on our territory. It's crazy. There's like 20 of them and they won't come on our territory. But if it's like 20 on 5, 20 on 6, they're there all day. These guys were all on. Now they're running away. There you go. So like, you just kind of micro the siege march. So I'm gonna set it up here. Push up again. Is that Cortex? No, it's Binu. That was crazy though, right? You see how they all popped out? I swear to God, they're all like Discord, like coordinating that or something. So it's a little risky. You can tell when they're setting it up, but then you can kind of bait them. Like, look, they won't even come over here. They hate the siege so much. Alright. At least fight this guy. Now they're running. Oops. The siege is getting free shots off. Dude, there's so many of them. Dude, this freaking barb is killing me. How are there so many of them? I should probably dismantle the siege, actually. If they just start swarming that, I think it will go down real quick. You know what? Actually, screw it. They can swarm this down. Oh god. They're coming. Like, they're like scared to come on our territory. It's crazy. I can't believe there were this many of them on, though. Oh god. So many of them. Well, this is a fighting the gale. When you're outnumbered, they'll come out, or else it's just cheeseburger. Dude, Binu, man. Dive bombed in there. There goes this guy. Can I get a free kill? These guys are scattering. Now the Frege has some free shots. This guy's dive bombing my siege, right? Come on, come closer. Oh god. Might be time to leave. Let's go back a little bit. Go back. I need a refresh.